I'm very grateful that I grew up when I did,
Yep.
that I didn't realize how good I had it.
Hi, I'm Luke.
And I'm Becca, and we're talking about movies like we know stuff.
Hello, everyone. We just got done watching the Lilo and Stitch remake, the live-action remake by Disney, and we have many, many thoughts on this one. And I think Becca here is going to have many more points to have, so she's gonna probably do most of the talking today, but I will do as much talking as I feel is necessary. So, also to note to everyone that this is based off the original animations, so if you haven't seen the original movie, this will be full of spoilers, including spoilers that will talk about the differences between the original animation and this live-action remake. So there will be no section here where we talk spoiler-free. The entire thing is going to be containing spoilers.
To a degree.
To a degree,
Yeah.
Exactly. So, with that being said, what are your overall thoughts on this movie?
I hated it. This won't be a surprise to anybody who knows me, which will probably be a lot of people listening, that I am not a fan of the live-action remakes. There was a period where I think they were okay. When they started making them, they were genuinely a new take, like The Jungle Book and Cinderella. And then it was really Beauty and the Beast that they started these shot-for-shot storytellings with unnecessary plot additions, character additions, changes, messaging, garbage. And in my opinion, this wasn't any better than any of those. I took a lot of notes, by the way, 28 bullet points to be exact, and I will say that Disney has not learned their lesson with these terrible live-action remakes, and I have now personally contributed to the ongoing problem by going to see this movie in theaters.
Yeah.
So, gosh, I have so many thoughts. I want to say my biggest complaints would be that, holy crap, some of the scenes that were shot for shot, they felt so fast. The beginning was so fast.
Oh,
and
yes. I'm glad you picked up on that, because that was my critique too, is like the intro, I was like, it felt like whiplash almost.
There's like no tension.
No.
They're like, here's Stitch, he's
bad.
Verdict, you owe me a soda. Verdict, you're guilty, and he escapes, and the end.
Yes.
No tension at all.
No
and
tension.
Definitely watching this movie made me realize that I have seen the original more than I realized. Like, I've seen this a lot.
Yeah.
I've seen it enough that I can tell almost every line that they added or was changed.
See, I have not seen it nearly that much, so you definitely would notice it better than I would, for sure.
I loved this movie. This movie came out.
The original movie.
The original.
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry. Oh, of course. Loved the original. It came out when I was like literally 10, 11 years old, still in the golden age of like the Disney Renaissance, in my opinion. And, everything that they copied was at lightning speed, especially the beginning. And everything that they added as far as like dialogue or scenes didn't work. And I think that's how most of these live actions are, where the shot for shots are rushed and soulless, and the additions are lame.
Yeah.
Or
Bear no consequence.
bear no consequence, or they are at best silly and at worst offensive to the original.
Yeah.
And I couldn't get behind it. And another thing this suffers from that I really noticed in Beauty and the Beast, like the live action remake, and a lot of other people did too, is that with these live action remakes, you can't copy the same smooth choreography and animation. And where this stuck out to me was the second scene, which is whenever they're in Hawaii.
Okay.
And you meet Lilo, and
Yeah.
it's a whole intro of her like swimming in the water and coming late to dance class. Now that scene in the original, it's perfect. It's choreographed perfectly.
Yeah, right.
With the dancing and her movement and the music and her little silly, let's say like happenings throughout the way. She runs into like the big tourist who drops his ice cream.
Yeah. Which, justice for tourist guy, he wasn't a tourist in this movie, and that made me more irked than it probably should have.
But it's perfect that she, like, in the original animated, she just slips into the dance, into the choreography, and it's timed perfectly because it can be, because it's being animated to music.
To music and to beats, yeah.
And you can't...
It's much harder to do that.
You can't capture that same synchronization with people. And where that really stuck out in Beauty and the Beast was in the opening scene.
Okay.
In the opening scene in the village, that everybody just kind of, like, milling about, just didn't have the same, like, bounciness and perfection of the animated feature. And that's the same case here, which is, point a gajillion on my mental list of why live action remakes of animated movies don't work.
Yeah, sure.
Now, remakes in Disney have worked before. They've worked with other live movies. Now, I love the Parent Trap remake.
Okay.
Nostalgia for sure, but I also think it's genuinely a good movie. Now, I've seen the original, and the original is charming, but the sequel features, plussed up setting and consequences and a great score And that was, in my opinion, a true improvement on the original.
Yeah.
These original Disney Renaissance, animated masterpieces need no improvement.
Yes, yeah. So you mentioned the intro or the second scene where she's feeding the fish and then she comes in and like starts doing the hula dance that's to the beat of the music and synced up with music. What did you feel about Lilo pushing the bully girl instead of her slipping on the wetness of Lilo?
Well, that was actually replacing a different moment.
Okay.
So in the animated movie, after Lilo does her dance and the girls slip and the kids are kind of like irritated at her, Lilo then explains to her teacher that she's like feeding the fish.
Right.
She's
right.
feeding the fish that she believes is like a demigod.
Correct, yeah.
And the little red-haired girl says, "You're crazy," and Lilo bites her and
That's
punches
right.
her in the face.
So they kind of like merged those two together. Those
Yeah.
two like incidents together. Yeah, that's
Which
right.
like goes back to these remakes are so bloated, yet they speed up the best parts.
Right, yeah. Okay, good. I'm glad you pointed that out because to me, I forgot that they had merged those two events together because to me, I was like, oh, that changes like the perspective of Lilo quite a bit because when everybody slips on her being wet, it's an unfortunate thing, but it's an accident. Whereas like if Lilo is pushing the girl, that's a deliberate and mean act. It turns Lilo from like, a child of unfortunate circumstance to just a mean child almost a little bit,
Well, the problem is they never established Lilo as being an outcast yet, like barely.
True.
In like the live action version, before she goes on stage, the girls make fun of her for not having a friendship bracelet that
Right.
matches theirs. That's their attempt to shoehorn in. By the way, Lilo doesn't fit in.
Yeah.
But it's like,
Right, it's shoehorned.
but it's so quick that you didn't remember it.
Yeah, you're right.
It's been less than an hour since we've seen this
I
movie
know.
and you didn't remember it,
Yeah.
which just speaks to how soulless these things are. But on another point I wanted to
Yeah.
make about timing, not to pivot, I am sorry, I am
No,
dominating
please
this.
go. No, please go. All you.
Really, I feel bad. But anyways, I will keep ranting. On the subject of timing, I talk about how the choreography is off. Comedic timing also never works in these. It's all the original jokes don't work.
Yeah.
The timing is off. It's
Yeah.
not, it's perfect in the animated feature. And here it's awkward and it doesn't have the same like zing. And almost none of the original jokes made me laugh.
Yeah.
And none of the new jokes really made me laugh either.
Yeah. So what jokes would you say they didn't quite hit this time around?
The whole scene where Nani comes home after Lilo gets upset at dance practice. In the animated version, it's hilarious. It's great. Like Nani is pulling nails out of the door and threatening Lilo,
right,
and
yeah.
the social worker shows up.
Yeah.
She crawls in the window. Lilo has pictures of her distressed, like she's drawn pictures of her sad all over the kitchen, and Nani's picking them up.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
And they try to throw those things in,
Sure.
except in this one it sucks.
Right. Yeah, you're right. It was not nearly as funny. That's for sure.
I mean, we were in a decently full theater. I didn't hear a lot of laughing.
No, I didn't either.
I think once in a while we laughed ironically, or
Yeah, that's true.
but like again in the original movie, it's hilarious, and because the comedy is off, everything else is off too.
Yes.
All the emotional moments
Yes.
are also off.
Yeah.
That whenever we came home, and I'm talking to my mom who was watching my baby boy while I was at this movie.
Shout out to Mom for watching the baby and us not having to pay her so that we didn't have to pay for a babysitter for this terrible movie.
I said to my mom, I felt nothing for that.
Yeah.
And when I watched the original, even as like once I was a teenager and I had like active hormones, I would cry a couple of times watching the original. There's some moments that get me and still get me to this day. I felt nothing. Like the comedy didn't make me laugh. The moments that were supposed to be heartfelt made me feel nothing. This was so wooden. And I'm not going to insult the child actor playing Lilo
No,
because she was very
no.
cute and she's a child. It's
Yes.
not, I honestly, like she's fine.
It's more
She's
of
a
I think
kid.
it's more of a writing and editing issue than an actor or actress issue.
I mean, I would say that I wasn't super impressed with the adult actors either.
Sure.
The only like fun part being with seeing Tia Carrere again, who's the original voice of Nani.
Yeah, that was a cool cameo. I'm glad you pointed that out to me because I wouldn't have noticed that.
Fun to see her, and fun to see her in something more than just like the lady who hands somebody a coconut, because normally these like cameos are really little.
Yeah, right.
So she's gorgeous, she's lovely. It was fun to hear Nani's voice. Unfortunately, they didn't give her anything good to say.
No.
But timing.
Yeah.
Timing.
Yeah.
There was no good timing for anything.
No, there was not.
No timing. And also, another note I made was, oh good, awkward conversations are still a staple of Disney live action remakes.
Okay, yeah.
Because the entire conversation between Nani and like new David.
Yeah. Oh my.
Very much gave me flashbacks to the Aladdin remake where the genie and the princess's handmaiden are talking about goats.
Yeah.
And it's supposed to be flirting.
Yeah.
But everybody just feels uncomfortable.
Yeah, that first interaction between David and Nani, I think I literally facepalmed in the theater. It was so bad.
It was so bad. And David's such a great little fun side character in the original.
And yes, I remember David being actually a funny character in the animated version. He was not funny at all in this version.
Nobody was funny.
That's true.
Nobody was funny.
But I definitely remember a standout David being.
They weren't even funny
character.
accidentally.
Right, exactly. Well, maybe a little accidentally, but yeah.
You have to discriminate.
Oh gosh.
Everything isn't a joke.
Yeah.
But the last thing I really want to harp on is that I'm so sick of these live action remakes treating me like I'm stupid.
Yeah.
They definitely think kids are stupid because they leave no subtlety. They over-explain everything. And I'm gonna give a couple of points that were driving me crazy,
All right,
okay?
I'm ready, hit me.
So a beautiful moment in the original is when Lilo's first brought Stitch home and he's like being an absolute terror and she's like trying to roll with it. But at some point he grabs the picture of her parents and she goes, no, you don't touch this. And she says nothing. She just grabs it, she puts it under her pillow. And you know what that means.
It's precious to her, yeah.
You don't need her to say, this is a picture of my parents. Do you have parents?
Yeah, you're right.
Gosh, was that stupid.
Yeah.
And then instead of Lilo asking Stitch where his family is, she reads him the Ugly Duckling story.
Oh, yeah.
And she talks, and I'm like tearing up thinking about it. And she
Yeah.
talks about how the story resolves by the ugly, lonely duckling calling for help and his family finds him. And that's how they introduce
right.
the idea of family and how
Yeah.
important that is. And Stitch realizes that he's alone.
Right.
Where was that? Like, you have a perfectly written scene that shows and not tells, and they decide to just take it down to a level that I guess my 8-month-old is supposed to understand, where,
do you have any family?
are you lost, ugly duckling?
Yeah, right, yeah, exactly, yeah. Yeah, no, good point, very good point. Ooh, see,
This is why I'm taking so many notes.
I say, this is why you're gonna be the one who's talking most on this, because half this stuff I don't even remember, and you calling it out does jog my memory, but I never would have remembered this on my own, so
I mean,
that's really good.
Okay, sorry.
Okay, good.
The last point I want to make about the telling and not showing, which is what this movie did, was near the end where Jumba, who, first spoiler, is definitely he's the villain. There's no redemption,
Yeah.
he's just the villain.
Yeah.
Didn't love that.
No.
At the very end, during the climax, when Jumba says, emotions are making us weak, and, he says to Stitch, like, you only went to Lilo because you wanted me not to, like, shoot you with my laser blaster. We knew that.
Yeah, right.
Like, we knew that.
Yes.
And that's another thing that they showed in the animated movie. Great, where Stitch is just running around and he sees the adopt a dog poster and he sees a little girl and he runs in front of her, so he
can be adopted, yeah.
So he's not captured.
Right, yeah.
Was that a big reveal? No. Was this supposed to be a big reveal?
Yeah, yeah. Oh my gosh, yeah. Ugh. Like, it was a terrible third act breakup.
I mean, it was really brief where Lilo's like, no, it's fine. Like, it doesn't seem like she was that affected by it. But they just built it up where instead of like these beautiful moments where Stitch like leaves Lilo because she tells him to leave in the third act breakup of the original.
Right.
And he cries out, I'm lost, like he's the ugly duckling.
Right,
They
yeah.
do none of that. They just have this like stupid exposition dump by Jumba, the new villain,
Right, yeah.
explaining what happened 90
Yeah.
minutes ago.
Right, yeah. No, you're absolutely right on that.
Kill me.
Okay, well, speaking of killing, let's talk about the story and the plot. All right, so we're gonna pivot here a little bit from story and plot since we kind of talked about that in the overview, and we're gonna talk a little bit about like the changes between the animated version and the live action version. And so while it's at the top of my head, because I'm gonna talk about this is by far not the biggest thing, but this one bothered me quite a bit because, and you'll know why here in a second. They changed the blaster that the bad guys used from a blaster to a portal gun.
Oh yeah.
Okay, and
So it would never actually hurt Stitch, it would just send him somewhere else?
it would just portal him some. Well, now, so Jumba also had a real blaster, and he uses it a couple times in one of the final scenes. But the primary gun that they're using is a portal gun of some kind, basically. And I didn't really understand the logic of how it worked or whatever. But anyway, there's a game that's been out since the 90s called Portal. Okay? And it is a spectacular. It's like probably one of the best storytelling games of all time, in my opinion. And what happens is you get this gun that shoots portals, and the whole objective, it's a puzzle game where you shoot portals and you have to like navigate around this like space using portals and momentum and things like that, and thinking with portals like, oh, if I put a portal like a floor below me and then put a portal on an angled floor, a wall that I can see, and I jump into the one from above, my momentum transfers and it shoots me across the level, and that's how I get to the exit basically. It's thinking like physics that way. One of the things that they encourage, and people usually find out pretty intuitively in this game, is that if you put a portal on the ceiling and a portal on the floor, you fall forever, continually gaining speed basically, and you can use that in the game to launch yourself like really far and stuff like that, whatever. But like, as a gamer, I'm like, Portal did that first. You can't steal that. like
they own that lore.
They own that whole idea.
They own the physics of the portal gun.
Super minor change, but that one bothered me a little bit just because I'm a gamer and that's such a Anyway, continue. Go ahead. Talk about more important changes.
Wow. Well, you know what? To each their own.
Yeah.
Everybody has a different reason to hate these live-action remakes.
I didn't say it's the reason I hate it. I'm just saying that one meant a lot to me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Aww.
Anyway, continue.
I respect your opinion.
Thank you.
Even if I don't share it, I respect it.
Yeah, fair enough.
So, big changes for, anybody who's already seen this or wants to listen to us so they don't have to see it would be, so Jumba and Pleakley are pretty different.
Yes.
Jumba is now the villain. There's no Captain Gantu.
Yes. Oh man, I think that was a miss. Captain Gantu is such a better villain than Jumba
I know.
was. Yeah, for sure.
And I saw some articles floating around with the director talking about why he didn't include him, but I didn't read them because I didn't want too many spoilers before
It's
this.
probably because Captain Gantu is like 12 feet tall, and I don't know.
I guess they just didn't want to pay
I guess
animators to
they don't want to pay
animate
animators
the whole time.
animated, or they just said like now they're going for realism or something like that, and like oh, how would we possibly hide Captain Gantu when he's 12 feet tall? And it's like that's the sword you're gonna fall on. That's the line you're gonna draw for what's realistic in Lilo and Stitch.
Yes.
But anyway, I don't know. Weird.
So, a couple things are changed with Jumba and Pleakley. So number one, like we said, Jumba is now he's the villain. There's no Captain Gantu, so he's the irredeemable villain. He's trying to catch Stitch the whole time. He doesn't end up as Lilo's like uncle at the end. He's just a bad guy. And Pleakley is pretty much the same character.
No.
He's same in the sense that he's like a bumbling dork.
Yes.
But
He loves Earth and wants to go there now.
he always loved Earth in the original, but he was scared to
go, yeah.
When he was also, and maybe not so scared of Earth, but he was scared to be with Jumba.
Yeah.
Because he was supposed to be a dangerous criminal.
Right, yeah.
And he's fine.
He's like, oh yay, great! I get to go on vacation and be with. That was a major pivot for his character that I didn't like.
I didn't like that either. And I'll say, I guess I'm okay with the alien like body swapping, where they swapped out their appearances
For their
the
actors, yeah.
Because you can suspend disbelief a lot better in animation, where you have like Jumba and Pleakley running around in like mustaches and dresses,
right,
than you could in the real world. So I was okay with it.
Yeah, I also just wonder if this is like the same thing as The Mandalorian, where the actor really just wanted people to see their face, so they just wrote in an excuse for them to put the actual actors in rather than just having them VA.
I agree that could have been the case, but I'm okay with it just because what functioning human would look at a VFX Jumba and think that's a person?
Right, yeah, exactly.
So I'm okay with it.
Yeah.
I will say that I didn't think that Jack Galifianakis fit Jumba at all.
No, his voice does not fit Jumba at all.
Literally, as soon as he started talking, I hated him.
Yeah. No, it doesn't. No, Jumba needs to have like a deep kind of, not like jolly voice, but like I don't know how to describe it. It feels jovial-ish.
The original was, I'm hoping I'm pronouncing his name right because he was a Disney legend. David Ogden Sears. He has passed away. He probably would have voiced him otherwise, but he's also has been like Cogsworth. He was the bad guy in Pocahontas.
Okay.
He's done a lot of Disney.
Yeah.
And he was the original Jumba. And that almost like jolly German sounding voice.
Yeah, that's
like
probably
a deep
fair.
voice worked, not just Zach Galifianakis.
Like noisy, nasally.
Yeah. Which he just, he plays Zach Galifianakis.
Yeah, exactly. No shade on him, but I just don't think he fits Jumba at all.
I didn't think he fit him at all. Whoever played Pleakley, I don't recognize you, Mr. Actor. You were fine. But
okay.
those are big changes. I would say Lilo wasn't changed very much, which is fine.
Yeah, that's fine.
Again, she's a cute little girl.
Yep.
I wish her well in her career. I wish her better movies than this.
Yeah.
Nani as a character. She wasn't necessarily different. She just didn't have any emotional range.
No.
So Nani is obviously like a tense and stressed character because she's supposed to be a young woman with this incredible responsibility on her shoulders out of nowhere. She loses her parents, she's raising her sister.
Yeah.
This actress had the same level of stress driving Lilo to practice that she did at the end when Lilo was captured by aliens.
Yeah, right.
Like, speaking of the emotional beats that this live-action remake does not hit, in the original, when Lilo is taken, Nani has a breakdown.
Yeah, right, she does.
She, like, falls to her knees. She starts to sob.
Right, yeah, understandably so.
You feel it.
Yeah.
In this, she's mildly inconvenienced.
Right. That's true. It's very true. They do give, I think Nani didn't have her collegiate background in the original, right? Yeah, okay, so they gave her a little bit more background.
So I don't mind that.
Yeah, it didn't bother me, honestly.
It felt more realistic that Nani would still have dreams because in the original...
You don't really know much about her background, yeah.
It's just, well, you know, it's animated. It's more like a fairy tale where they don't over-explain.
Sure.
And you kind of just don't question what Nani's going to do next. The movie is about their relationship.
Right, yeah, it's about the immediate
The heart of the relationship is the sisters. And you don't question, oh, I wonder if Nani wanted to go to college and now can't.
And yeah, right, yeah, exactly. No, that's very true.
But it's fine. I didn't hate it. I will give the movie points in that sense, that I don't feel like the message was ditch children, pursue a career.
Right, yes.
I do think they tried to flesh Nani out a little bit. Unfortunately, the direction gave her no levels.
Right.
Like, nobody ever said levels.
Right, yeah. Nope, absolutely right.
And again, I've never done film at war, but I'm sure it's more challenging because they're filming things out of order. And it's not like a play where the actor can like build up.
They could build themselves up to the big emotional moment, yeah.
Yeah, because as somebody personally who's only acted on stage, I've thought, I don't know how I could just do this out of context. But that's what the professionals are supposed to do. They're supposed to film these out of order and make me feel like I'm watching a seamless like tragedy or comedy.
Sure, yeah.
And I very much felt like I was watching disjointed moments.
Yeah.
As far as other things that they changed, they never have the moment in this movie where Lilo finally gets fed up with Stitch.
Right, they do not.
And that is such a beautifully sad moment in the original, where I think Lilo's starting to realize in the original that something is going to happen, that she might not live with Nani anymore, and tells Stitch, you ruined everything, get out of here. And that never happens.
Nope.
Like, they just gave this little actress direction that she's just kind of walking on sunshine for the whole movie.
Right.
And...
Well, I mean, that animated third act breakup is significantly more impactful than the third act breakup of, oh, Stitch used you to escape me.
Yeah, we know. So, sorry, not to you.
No, I know.
To the movie.
Yep.
But, you know, that was a big change that, again, we've already touched on. Hated that. Stitch giving himself up to Jumba. That would have never happened in the original.
Yeah.
Because whenever the alien villain came for him in the original, it was Captain Gantu.
Right.
And it was like a comedic like chase scene between him and
Right,
Lilo
yeah,
where
you're right.
they end up destroying her house.
Yeah, that's right. Yep.
So that would have never...
No, you're right.
That would have never happened in the original. That's just not in his character.
Right.
Also, I thought that was an odd choice for the ending where Stitch is sacrificing himself for Lilo. Like, he offers to let himself drown because he's too heavy to swim.
Right.
Stitch wouldn't do that.
Yeah.
Also, that's just not in any living creature's nature to not fight to live.
Right, yeah.
Like, accepting death. Like, he just accepts death.
Right, yeah. That was kind of their attempt at a tearjerker moment, basically.
You know, which they had so many from the original to pick from.
Sure.
Which there's so many that I could talk about, but one that I haven't mentioned yet is how beautiful in the original the scene is when Nani's saying goodbye to Lilo, but Lilo doesn't realize it. And that's the Aloha Oi scene.
Right, yes, right.
Like, I'm like getting emotional like thinking about it, but she sings the song and they like release two like flowers into the wind and she's telling her goodbye because she hasn't explained to Lilo yet that she probably has to go into foster care.
Right, yeah.
They don't do that in this one.
No, they do not.
They have like a tickle fight in the hammock and Nani's kind of cool with it because she's like, well, I get to go to college now.
Right, yeah.
Which is fine, but I just don't like how they handled it.
Yeah, ugh. Yeah.
It's, you know, there's just something I kept making in my notes was I kept saying no emotions. There's no emotions.
Yeah.
In this movie except indifference, giggling, bad jokes. I don't know what they were going for.
Yeah.
also, whenever Lilo, I guess they insinuate that she almost drowns or was in stress when they all go surfing, why did they take her to the hospital?
Yeah.
Like they take her out of the water and she coughs up the water and she wakes up and
Yeah. I mean,
why do they
I
like
don't-
Lilo's fine and Nani's like, call an ambulance.
Right, yeah, no,
why?
Yeah, it's, I don't know. It's hard for me to judge that scene because I've never been in that situation before. I mean,
I guess it's more realistic. You would probably want your child checked out.
You want them checked
but-
out, correct. But do you need to like scream for an ambulance? No. Could you ask for an ambulance? Yeah.
I just
Or
don't.
could you just take her to the hospital yourself? Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. It's hard for me to tell. It was weird.
I mean,
I'll
clearly
give you
they
that
were.
for sure.
So, because they're trying to be realistic with this live action remake, is they were trying to set up, now that I'm thinking about it, trying to set up her going to the hospital so Nani could realize that she still hadn't signed up for like free health insurance.
Oh yeah, that's 100% what they were signing up for, yeah, or setting it up for, yeah.
But it just wasn't necessary.
No.
Nani was clearly struggling without that plot tie of like, by the way, let's go to the hospital. So
Just to remind everybody you don't have health
we can
insurance.
Find out that we're gonna get a huge bill for Lilo's ocean water spit up.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
the original is so perfect in the sense that Nani is unraveling from the beginning. And for her, it never gets any better. And you just feel for her. She's trying so hard to keep it together.
Right.
And clearly, this Nani doesn't have it together either.
Right.
But she's also still kind of a lot more accepting of what's happening. I mean, her and Lilo, they don't seem like they're still grieving,
Yeah.
which I think is odd. Because you can still feel the weight of their parents' death on the original.
Sure.
In this, they're like, we had good parents, didn't we? Like, who talks like this?
Yeah. Yeah.
And okay, if we would have, this would have been like a drinking game. Every time I said in the original, like we would be dead.
Oh
right
yeah,
now.
for sure.
Because in the original, when the topic comes up of Nani putting Lilo into foster care, it's a really heartbreaking scene. Where Nani is talking to Cobra Bubbles, who's the social worker in the original, and it's like, Nani, we need to think about what's best for Lilo. And she just like screams at him like, she won't survive out there. Like, she needs me.
Yeah, right. Right.
And when like Tia Carrere, social worker, talks to Nani in the new one, she's like, oh man, yeah.
Yeah. No, you're absolutely right. Yeah.
That,
Ugh.
I mean, I believed that they got along as sisters, and that's fine. I didn't believe that they were real people,
Yeah.
because real sisters fight,
Right.
and, you know, are fiercely loyal. And again, these are supposed to be characters who are grieving,
Yeah.
and there needs to be more of a sense of them clinging to each other.
Absolutely. Yep.
The ending changes got spoiled for me a little bit in the sense that people kept saying the ending had changed, and I'm thinking, well, what could be different?
Yeah, right.
And I saw another like video on YouTube floating around where the title said, Ohana means foster care. So-
What a brutal title. Oh my
So,
god.
Clearly.
That's good. We should steal that. Whoever did that, that's grade A titling
We're
right
definitely
there.
not going to steal it from a much more
No,
successful
no,
YouTuber.
I understand. I'm
but
joking.
I didn't watch it, but I wasn't surprised that, you know, Leo, I guess, ends up going into foster care, but the fact that they just went with, like, she's basically just gonna, like, live with a neighbor who seems like she's really, like, a mother figure to Nani and Lilo anyway.
Yeah.
Also, I guess she's David's mom?
Yeah.
This woman?
Yeah, I was gonna say, that woman, she's new, or is she just a side character in the original? I'm trying to remember.
She's new.
She's new. Tutu?
Tutu?
Yeah, it looks like Tutu.
And I've seen that actress in other things before, and she's lovely. I didn't hate that as an ending, because I felt like Lilo was basically just gonna be watched over by family anyway, while Nani went to super fancy marine biology school.
She went to Marine Corps.
Because, like, the way they made it sound, or the way I was imagining in my head, is that Lilo was gonna go off to a random family. So at least that ending hurt less to me. I mean, yay, Nani gets to have a career. That's not a bad ending for her.
Right.
But we were just talking about this the other day, but speaking of writing 6-year-olds like 42-year-old women, even though that was still, I think, a good scenario for Lilo, if this was written realistically, a 6-year-old whose parents just tragically died in a car crash would not tell her older sister, you should go and not be with me. I want you to go have a career,
Yeah.
and I'll be fine.
Right, yeah.
What 6-year-old would
say
be at
that?
that level of emotional maturity
Right.
to not need the stability of a blood relative after tragically losing both their
Right.
parents?
Yeah, no, that's completely accurate.
What?
When children talk like this.
Children don't talk like this.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, jeez.
It just hurts how much they missed the mark on this because, I mean, the benefit is that watching this made me realize how much I love the original.
Mm-hmm.
Like, oddly, one of my favorite parts of the original is the epilogue. I love the epilogue. I love Lilo and Nani's new blended family. I love
They're building the house.
they're moving on. They're traveling to Graceland. David's dating Nani. That's cool. No movie leaves me with like such joy and warmth as that epilogue.
Right.
With like Burnin' Love playing over it. It brings me to this day. It is like my favorite post-credits scene.
Yeah.
And there's just nothing in this movie that made me feel anything close to what the credits did
Yeah.
in the original.
Yeah.
That they just missed the mark in almost every way
Yeah.
that they could have,
Yeah.
in my opinion.
Very true. Very true. Quick detour to music, real quick, because I have a couple points I'd want to make there.
Yeah, I think you have more points than me. I didn't
Yeah, I
have
think
much to say.
I think I do too. Yeah. So the Hula Dance song and Hawaiian Roller Coaster Ride, both are bops. I think they did pretty good tribute to them.
Yeah, they were good, like
Remakes of the original song.
Yeah.
Oh, they're very good. The one point that I need to complain about. Okay, there's a point where when Stitch first lands on Earth, he spots cake at a wedding.
Right.
Okay, and so he goes to the wedding and he ends up just absolutely trashing it and getting the cake. But what song is everybody dancing to? Happy.
Is that what they were dancing to?
Yes.
Oh.
They were.
I know that it was like a wedding song I've heard everywhere.
Yes.
Yeah.
They were I'm like, okay, if you're gonna modernize like the music, why are we still picking a song that's like, I think that song's like 10 years old.
Because
at this
everyone
point
is
in
still
time.
dancing to it at their weddings.
I know, it's like semi-realistic, but also like, come on. Happy has been in the Minions movie. Like, it's
Happy's from the Minions movie, I think.
everyone uses Happy as a song in their movie, and it's so annoying. I'm so tired of that song.
Yeah, it was
it's
also a
it's a
stupid
bop.
scene.
It's a bop, but it's just that song needs to stop appearing in
It just
movies.
bothered you.
Just
Just
leave
the
it.
presence of it bothered
Leave it in white people weddings in the United States. Okay, out of movies.
Where it will live forever.
Forever, yeah. And then I think that, if I remember correctly, the original had a little bit more Elvis tribute than the remake did. And that disappointed me a little bit, because I kind of liked the Elvis.
I thought that they still had, they still played Burnin' Love, they still played
The blues
Devil
song.
in Disguise, they still played, Lilo was playing the same Elvis song on the record when she was sad.
Right, yeah.
Stitch played the same Elvis song out of his mouth
Right.
on the record player, so.
Yeah. Which, by the way, Nana's reaction to that was completely not the
Not
same.
fun.
Not fun as it was in the cartoon. Like in the cartoon, she's like, her mouth is like a gape.
But she's not even paying attention.
Like, yeah, she's not even paying attention in this version. And
Yeah.
it's just like, all right, well, that whole joke is.
That's because
just
she doesn't have to. She was given one direction, and it was to be there and to be slightly
be there.
distressed.
Yeah. Right.
Or non-reactive.
Right. All right. Anything about the visuals or special effects or anything like that?
Stitch was fine. He looked cute.
Yeah, I thought he looked furry. He was cute. Yeah.
I thought the VFX characters looked good. The head mistress of the alien empire, whoever, she looked great.
Yeah.
She looked especially good.
Pleakley's eye bothered me.
You
it
did-
was
you did,
way,
like, react.
It was way
Yeah.
too like transparent, translucent for me.
You had a
It was-
visceral reaction
It
in
was
the theater.
it was weird. I didn't like it. Like, again, I know my comments that I made about when they transform into the actual actors again, but like there's one benefit was that I didn't have to stare at Pleakley's eye the entire time. So that was a little weird. I do appreciate that they shot. It seems like they shot this movie. I don't know if it's in Hawaii or in
I
some.
think they did. I think it
Yeah.
was shot on site. like
That
it was
makes
supposed to
sense,
be.
yeah, because the scenes looked very realistic for that area. So I.
Oh yeah, like the
appreciate
setting was
that.
beautiful.
Yeah,
Obviously.
Yeah, and I also appreciate that Tutu rode like a quad. Nani and Lilo and Tutu and David all kind of live like up the mountain a little bit more like Hawaiian boonies basically. And when you get out into like the boonies of like those areas specifically, you have to be more self-sufficient because the amenities are number one limited because you're on an island, and number two because you're in the boonies. And so I thought it was very good touch that she was driving a four-wheeler around because that's what she would do if she was actually living there. So yeah, so I appreciated that. But other than that, I thought the special effects were good. The portal effect was a little weird on the gun, but whatever. Portals aren't a real
I
thing.
thought that looks the cheapest.
Yeah.
Like, as somebody who knows nothing
Yeah.
about how like visual effects are
They look
made
very
in
flat.
movies,
They look very flat.
Yeah.
Like, when I envision portals, again, portals not a real thing, but any portals that I've seen in science fiction, I think they're much better when the portals have depth to them. Like that you could actually like reach in and touch what's on the other side of the portal. This
Like,
one,
the effect is
this one
very
looked like they
2000s.
put like a 2D picture on a wall and then drew a circle around it and put some like frilly effects on it. I don't know. That was
Yeah. I would say like that effect to me felt a little like Matthew Broderick Inspector Gadget level of skill.
Fair enough. Fair enough. So, all right. Any last points you have before we go into our thumbs up, thumbs down, and out of 10 rating?
These don't work. These remakes don't work.
Yeah.
They don't do it for me. I don't think they do it for a lot of people. And this will amuse you.
Okay.
That when we were leaving the theater and I was like waiting for you to throw away like our popcorn bag, a family walked by me and the little girl said to her mom, she said, "Mom, I've already seen this movie. We have it at home. This is the fake one.
Oh,
like we've
good.
seen it."
Good.
So
I'm glad to hear that.
That gave me a glimmer of hope that a child who looked around like she was like 8 or 9 has seen the original and even at her age saw this and like called shenanigans.
Good. I didn't know that. Good. Good to hear that.
So I don't think they're even working for children anymore because they're treating children like they're stupid.
Right. Yeah.
These remakes, they're talking down to everybody.
Yes.
They have no emotional like gravitas to them. They're not funny. Half the time they don't look good. They make me appreciate the originals, which is a silver lining, I suppose, although I'm pretty sure I appreciated them perfectly fine on my own. I'm feeling very grateful that I grew up when I did, that I didn't realize how good I had it.
Right.
That
Until these movies started coming
not
out.
only could I count on a Disney movie at least one a year, to go see in the theaters with my parents, but I was seeing something great that was going to be my next favorite movie until the next Disney movie came out.
Right, yeah. Yep.
What do these kids have?
Yeah.
I mean, thankfully they have the originals, but they aren't getting this experience in a theater, and that is a shame.
Yeah, it is a shame.
That we are not giving our children stories worth telling. We're not teaching them to pick up on subtleties.
Right, yeah.
We're not teaching them good storytelling.
Not teaching them good art, period.
We are hurting their reading comprehension with movies like this.
Yes, yeah, absolutely.
So,
absolutely.
do you have any final thoughts?
My final thoughts are, if you have a Disney Plus subscription and you need something to watch to entertain your small children,
Wait for it to
put it on for that. If you
like a baby.
If you have to pay for it in any way, shape, or form, I'd say pass on this one. And if you have the original animation, definitely pass on this one.
Yeah.
So that's my recommendation.
Yeah. My recommendation also is that I do.
Yeah. So I would say out of 10. I know you're gonna go negative because you just didn't like it that much, but I'm gonna stay within the bounds. So out of 10,
I'll give a real
I'm gonna
number.
give it a solid 3. You're giving it a 2. Yeah,
I was
that
thinking
doesn't
3
surprise me.
in the theater, but the more I thought about how much I had to endure watching this, it lost a point.
Yeah.
It lost a point in this conversation.
When I was in the theater, I was gonna give it a 5 actually, and after hearing all of your points about how what they missed and how they've just missed the mark entirely in certain positions, that brought the score down dramatically for me. So thank you for that.
You're welcome. I'm just here to dispel the magic.
just to ruin everything.
I'm just like
Womp 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 womp.
I'm just like the Tinkerbell of cynicism.
Yeah, you really are.
Just movie cynicism.
Nice. All right, well that wraps up our review of the new Lilo and Stitch live action movie. We hope you guys enjoyed our review of it. Leave us a comment. Let us know if we're full of malarkey, that this was actually a good remake, or if you disagree with us. But either way.
Did it give you nostalgia? Did you feel things that I didn't? I would like to hear something good.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
No judgment.
Thank you for listening to the end of this. Remember to like, comment, and subscribe, and we'll see you guys next time.
Bye.